All right, welcome back. Trump's warning: bloodbath prediction if election results don't favor him. All right, let me read this quick excerpt from Yahoo.com. I don't know, NBC News rather. Trump says there will be. You know what? Why don't we just go ahead?
The Biden campaign seizing on the remark and rejecting the Trump campaign's claim that it was about only.
All right, let's take a look at this real quickly.
Donald Trump on the attack this weekend in Ohio, lashing out at some of his favorite targets, from the criminal cases against him.
It's all politics. It's all coming in from Biden.
To what he claims are the criminal migrants crossing the southern border and destroying the country.
They're not people, in my opinion, but I'm not allowed to say that because the radical left says that's a terrible thing to say. These are animals, okay?
But it was his use of the word bloodbath during a riff about Chinese car makers that's creating new headlines and headaches for his campaign.
We're going to put a 100% tariff on every single car that comes across the line, and you're not going to be able to sell those cars if I get elected. Now, if I don't get elected, it's going to be a bloodbath
Jesus.
for the whole. That's going to be the least of it. It's going to be a bloodbath for the country. That'll be the least of it.
The Biden campaign seizing on the remark and rejecting the Trump campaign's claim that it was about only cars.
The idea that.
All right, so let's hear your thoughts on those commentaries.
Let's jump into it right away.
Let's do it.
This is our country. This is our country. And like the other time when he first ran, he raised an alarm about possible carnage, the American carnage. And Mr. Trump, you know, he is trapped in the mind of a little child, fantasizes about the years in which he grew up in America. America has since moved on from that stage. There's not going to be Jim Crow anymore. America is not going to be, exploiting its fault lines of discrimination and segregation to the point that the dream of some people looking at that shameful stage of the history of this country, the evolution of this country, as being great. That history will not be repeated. It's not going to be brought back. So now he's talking of a bloodbath. Let me tell you, like Jesus would say in times past, let your heart not be troubled. Believe in God, but in place of this, believe in God and believe in the American Constitution. This is a country of strong institutions. I have cautioned elsewhere there. Yes, the GOP, the Grand Old Party, the Republican Party in the United States, would want to field Mr. Donald Trump again for office. You know, it's because nobody has scolded him. Nobody has allowed the full weight of the law to come down on this man for attempting an equivalent of a coup d'etat, January 6, 2021. And so, since he was able to get away with that so far, using judges whom he appointed into office while he served as president to delay the process. The process can only be delayed. It will not be denied in law. So all these kind of things that he has done are haunting him. And at some point, because the delay will be over, and then he would go to where he rightly belongs. And trying to stop, you see, if you have been following reports of journalists like Rachel Maddow, they were talking about the moment Americans were fantasizing and were fixated on the idea of kind of fascism. Most Americans decided to back Adolf Hitler during the Second World War before the war was brought to America by way of the attack on December 7, the day the then President Roosevelt described that would live in history as infamy. You see, Americans were not against that war. Many of them, influential Americans, they were for Adolf Hitler until that one was brought to them. Then the sleeping giant in America was woken up. See, this is history has a way of repeating itself. And this is what Donald Trump is pandering to. This is what Donald Trump is trying to appeal to. And he has, we can't deceive ourselves that he doesn't have believers. We cannot believe, I mean, we cannot deceive ourselves that he doesn't have ardent faithfuls who believe in the twisted gospel he's offering them. How can you look at migrants, immigrants, trying to escape harsh conditions wherever they're coming from, and then you call them animals? The same way, compare between that and the way Adolf Hitler would talk. The Menkov, the book written by, the memoir written by Adolf Hitler has become a scripture for Mr. Donald Trump. That is why he would look fellow human beings in the eyes and call them animals. The same thing, that level was found in the late Colonel Muammar Gaddafi in Libya. When he started calling his people cockroaches and ants and rats and what have you. The same language you find with Saddam Hussein. These are the characters, that have used such words that denigrate, that devalue people in history. And that is where Donald Trump is going. There won't be any bloodbath after after he must have been thoroughly whooped at the polls. I listen to some of the Nigerian analysts and journalists. Donald Trump may win again and all that. And some of them are saying, he's a Christian. What has Christianity got to do with this? This is not Nigeria. Yeah, America, this is our country. It's not like our other country, Nigeria, where people will come together and say they are flying a religious solidarity ticket. And then you shut out a considerable number of people. This is a country where people think critically. Yeah. Is Donald Trump really a Christian? Can you really say that people who take all these decisions that hurt the poor, not allowing them freedom of choice in any way, or not allowing people who would say, "Oh, you are running away from trouble. You should be pushed back into that trouble. You die there," instead of looking at the fact that their own ancestors were immigrants in this country, just like you. No, not you. You were born here. I am an immigrant here, but I'm not an American citizen. And for somebody to come around you, my nephew, and describe you as something other than being American, or look at Oluwaseun, my son, and want to make him feel less American than others, he would have to contend with us with the power of the vote we have. And this is why everybody would mobilize the way they ought to let Donald Trump know that democracy is not about hate. It's not about revenge. It's not about any bloodbath. If that bloodbath is going to happen, maybe it's going to be brain hemorrhage for people who think the way he does. That is the only blood that will flow in some people's brain. America loves democracy, and it is what it's got to offer the world, and that is the hope of the world. Where they don't like democracy, where blood would always flow. Places like Russia, all those Hungary, places where he has his friends like North Korea, China, and what have you. They don't know anything about right or wrong. It's all about being strong and lacking consideration or empathy for the poor or the weak. No, that is not what America stands for. And America is greater than 1 million Donald Trumps. This country, for as long as human civilization will endure, let me paraphrase a past leader of America, democracy will stand, and it will always triumph over any chaotic or anarchical dream of one single individual.
All right. Great. Thank you for that. Do us a favor. Please add your opinions in the comments. We want to hear your opinion. Hit the like button, share, subscribe, and follow. And we'll be back in 20 seconds.
What's the boost visit to former military president